No, thank you very much. Let's then move on to, please, the Chief Executive's report. Simon.
Thank you, Malcolm. So since we last met, we've held the NHS Expo in Manchester, and I want to thank Simon Enright and team for putting on a fabulous event that, as I said at the time, kind of brought together the can-do crowd at no expense to the taxpayer, but demonstrating really significant change happening in many parts of the NHS. I've also had the opportunity to speak to the Queen's Nursing Institute, to the leaders of ambulance trusts, the Health Service Journal Summit, and one of my very regular appearances, the Public Accounts Committee, where I had the opportunity to remind Parliament about the funding outlook for the National Health Service and answer the questions about the financial position this year and in 5 years' time, and make the point that in the intervening years, next year, the year after that, we didn't get fully what we asked for, but nevertheless, as part of the 2-year planning round that we're now embarked on and the SDP process, we'll be exemplifying the sorts of changes that are required in order to live within the funding that has been allocated. And there'll be a further opportunity to explore some of those themes on the 18th of October, when I will be before the Health Select Committee discussing identical matters. And then the House of Lords having an equivalent hearing with a further opportunity later on before Christmas. The subject in hand, actually, of the Public Accounts Committee was the collapse of the Uniting Care contract in Cambridgeshire. And I think that pointed to some serious disconnects between decision-making locally, between different statutory organisations, between different trusts and the CCG, the role of external advisors, and the supervisory regime that NHSEngland and NHS Improvement jointly bring to bear on these new forms of contractual arrangement. And in the light of the sensible National Audit Office report, the 2 external investigations which we commissioned, NHSEngland and NHSI, will be publishing by the end of October a set of clear processes that will need to be gone through before those kinds of schemes are initiated going forward. And we've also used the intervening period to kick the tyres on some approaches that were being contemplated around the country to make sure that they don't go forward if those lessons have not been learnt in the meantime. I'm very pleased to say that we successfully got the planning guidance and the proposed sequins and the draft standard contract issued on September the 22nd, which, as we've discussed later on, means we've been able to bring forward by about 3 months the annual planning process. We are aiming to have this wrapped up substantively by Christmas, with various milestones along the way, including the October 21st deadline for local areas to propose their sustainability and transformation plans, the first 2 years of which obviously then need to be one and the same as the funding agreements and the contracts, which I think Matthew will discuss later on in the agenda. 24th of November then being submission of operational plans, and 23rd of December being when we want to try and wrap this whole thing up, so as to avoid Jim Mackey and I personally having to arbitrate any remaining contract disputes early in January. We have got various other things on the agenda over the coming 3 or 4 weeks ahead of our next meeting. I think we're making good progress on implementing our mental health task force report, and Claire Murdoch and Stephen Fern are here today to talk about some of those next steps. Callie Palmer will be publishing the 1-year-on report from the Cancer Task Force, and we hope to be able to set some tangible next steps on the upgrade of radiotherapy equipment and linear accelerators across the country, amongst other developments. We're shortly going to be able to announce investment decisions in GP premises upgrades this year, right across the country, after a good process of proposal development from CCGs. And we've got some big decisions to make in the light of the STP proposals about how we use next year's funding for the spread of new care models. We've got items on our agenda this morning about lessons from the care homes and the integrated hospital and primary and community and social care model. So we would like to make some substantial investments in some national spread of some of those, and we'll be making decisions on those in the next 6 to 8 weeks in the light of what we see are investable propositions coming out of individual STPs. And then finally, Malcolm, and perhaps a little bit left field, obviously a lot of the public focus on the National Health Service, the kind of Sturm und Drang of the here and now, we sometimes don't notice some of the bigger changes that are potentially much more profound in terms of the prospects for the nation's health. So I think it's also just worth recording that since we last met, the latest figures for adult smoking in this country have been published and actually show that 1 million fewer people are smoking now compared to 5 years ago, 7.2 million compared to 8.2 million. In terms of all the things that are likely to have an impact on the health of the nation, looking out 5 or 10 years, it is the smoking rate, together with action on obesity, which is going to be as important probably than anything else we're discussing here today.
So the rate has come down from about 20% to 17%?
And we need it to be in the sort of 13.5% zone by 2020 in order to deliver on the 30,000 lives saved that the Cancer Task Force is supposed to be implementing. Recognising this is also a huge source of health inequality, probably half of the class life expectancy difference in this country is explained by differential smoking rates.
Thank you, Simon. May I invite any comments, queries to the Chief Executive? No, you are spared. Oh, David.
Is it worth the STPs, giving us sort of your sense as to the maturity of that process, and because clearly a lot rides on getting those right?
Yes. So obviously we're not, as it were, approving STPs. STPs are being developed by local health and care organisations. We are reviewing and supporting those and aiming to then ensure that come October 21st, they provide the basis on which people make their operational investment decisions for next year and the year after. Reality, of course, is that the scale of the challenge in different parts of the country varies pretty substantially. And so in practice, I think what we're going to find is that there are going to be a cohort of proposals that people want to get going on and which are well worked through and would have our support in late October, early November. There will be others where they obviously know what they need to do for next year and the year after, but there's a more deliberative process required, particularly in terms of public engagement and citizen dialogue. And we'll talk a bit about that in the NHS Citizens discussion later, and that will take a bit longer. So we're working, we in this case being ourselves and NHS Improvement, with the 44 STPs to get a good sense from them as to where along that spectrum of ready to roll versus strategic change and engagement work still required they sit. But in any event, the whole point of having the 17, 18, 18, 19 round brought forward is that it actually focuses minds. This is now not a sort of speculative 2020 kind of proposition. This is actually every journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Well, the journey of the next 5 years begins with what you're going to make decisions on for 17, 18, 18, 19.
Good. Thank you. I'll invite the board to note Chief Executive's report.